Here it comes again. Lunch. Will it be the same old, same old? Or are you ready to take a vacation from the ordinary with the new Jamaican Jerk Turkey Sub at Firehouse Subs? Freshly sliced smoked turkey breast, craveably sweet mustard sauce, and a hint of Caribbean seasoning. Just $5.55 for a medium. Save time. Order the new Jamaican Jerk Turkey Sub on the Firehouse Subs app. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs. Save more lives. Participating locations. Limited time only, plus tax. Prices may vary for delivery.
And recording actually live for the first time in short time /FRL /Earl's whatever podcast he does / Julia's. Yeah, Sudden History, yeah. Julia's not quite done a podcast yet. We're here from Herd and Horns in Fargo, a post wrap-up kind of round table. We've got Julia Salata, Willie Saylor, Earl Smith, yours truly, Jason Bryant here. And, yeah, we got a collaborative effort. Willie and I have been talking about this for like 3 years. We should do a show afterwards. So this is day one of our trial run. We've got some beverages here. We're at a place that's really wrestling-friendly and wrestling-happy. You know, out on the sign outside as you come in, it says, "Watch Flow here." So, Willie, you got to love that.
Yeah, I love that. I love what Herd and Horns does. They welcome the community. Heck, they got special mugs with USA Wrestling logo on it. You gotta love that.
What's in your mug, Willie? Wait, don't. Yeah, if you can probably
know.
Understand what's in Willie's mug right now.
Easton juice.
Easton juice. Julia, you got anything to add on the Easton juice comment? Because that's kind of scary to me.
No comment.
No comment. So I'm going to go with the Twitter right now. Willie, you were, before we started, before we get into the content that we saw today, the wrestling, the cadet women's final, the 16U women's finals have ended.
That's going to take a while to get over, right?
That's number one.
That's one. First correction. It's the first one. Now, Willie threw this out last year on FRL about the flow alerts. So go into that story and let's kind of set this one up as I tweak the live show.
Oh, so, now you're able to go on Flow Arena and click on the little bell button for athletes that you want to follow. If you want to follow Richie Figueroa, and you click on him in the bracket, and you can get alerts to your email or your phone when he's going to be up. And it was so new last year, or people weren't familiar with it enough that a lot of people responded to the texts, and it made for some hilarity because people would respond with thumb down emojis. Let's say your kid lost, right? Yesterday, but I get all the replies, and yesterday I think the funniest one was, there was one that said, "That kid looked 20." There was one that said, "Sorry, I missed it. I was in the RV." So I don't know if it was in the RV in Fargo or somewhere in some rural area.
So what Willie's saying is, don't respond to those.
No. There's a rule with responding, and we'll go over that rule. There's another rule that leads to that rule. But yeah, at least if it's witty, respond. If you're just going to be like, okay, don't respond. Come on. Come up with something original that they might want to talk about. There's some good ones that came through, right?
Well, today somebody said Willie is short, and I think they were obviously – I think they heard the FRL last year and was like, yeah, we'll get them to talk about it.
Was another one, too, that was also on Wikipedia. They're trying to name drop to get into the mentions.
Yeah. Oh, Craig Picorni. Craig has a big head, which that could have came from anyone who knows Craig Picorni.
Anybody from Bennington, Nebraska, and points around Nebraska. But here we are. First of all, let's go around the table. Earl, this is your second year in Fargo.
It's my second. That's
second
right.
year. So, general impressions from last year where you got your Fargo. Well, never mind. We're not going to say that.
I know where you're going.
Yeah. Well, your Fargo V card was taken, and
yes.
so now number two, you're much more experienced. You know how to go a little longer these days. So what are your thoughts on year two?
It was a little easier preparing for it, and then as I'm watching, not trying to watch everything, just trying to concentrate on certain things because it's there's too much going on to focus on more than one or two mats.
Willie, how many is this for you? Because we met out here. I mean, It was like years ago at the B-Dubs pre-3 renovations ago. I remember you and Rudy Dazan were sitting at the bar. You're wearing a Nebraska shirt, and it must have been like 04, 05. It was something like that. It was way back.
I'll tell you how long ago that was.
You still had hair.
I had to ask. Yeah, I had hair then. I had about 30 pounds less on me, too. But I brought that up last night. Rudy and because he was coaching David Klingsheim, who won that year.
Wow, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Yeah. So and there's your Nebraska connection.
Yeah, he won Fargo that year, and he was from California, and I forgot the name of the school, and I asked somebody about that last night. So that's how it's so long ago.
What was the name of the school? Because now I can't remember.
I think it's either Freedom or Liberty or something.
Yes, it was Liberty.
Yeah, Earl and I were joking about school names today. There's like 4 Freedoms in Virginia now too on that mark.
Yeah.
So how many Fargos is this for you?
You know what? I don't actually know.
Come on, greatest mind in wrestling. You got to know this.
I know that since I started coming, I missed once or twice. There was 1 or 2 years in there where I didn't make it. So it's not consecutive, but it got to be about 14, 12, something like that.
Yeah, and the 1 year, Willie actually, it was the year it was basically kind of like the creation of what you guys now do with Flow Zone. Mm-hmm. We were streaming formats on USA Wrestling. Willie was doing audio commentary for the Open Mat, and it's funny that 75% of this table has worked for the Open Mat. worked for the Open Mat. I don't know, what's your next job, Earl? No. but and the Willie's like crashing with us. It was either the floors or we got him in an apartment. I learned how Willie gets his previews done that year too. So very, very big learning experience. You walked from like downtown too.
Yeah. Those were the days. I was thinking about that too. Doing the previews this week.
Doing them the night before,
because now we reach out to state chairs. You know, do you have your roster? We DM them or email them or find a contact for them somehow, and we get their rosters so we can better build the preview, so we can get the previews out far enough in advance. And there's still flaws with that because the rosters are inaccurate, or we don't get every state, obviously. We have guys missing, and the weights are wrong. But
you still didn't get Mississippi, did you?
No. But back then, we would not have any idea who was wrestling until they weighed in the night before. Mm. So they would weigh in the night before the brackets were come out, and that's when you had to start your research. So, you try to research 2,000 kids, what they did at duels, what they did at Akron or something, regionals, right? And I used to stay up, and I would do one cadet freestyle one night. The next night, after staying in the dome for 12 hours a day and not leaving, then you would start writing the preview for the next day. And I mean, for years, you would stay up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's if you didn't go out.
Maybe having a beer, one eye open, trying to get the preview done. One year, I literally spilled a Budweiser on my computer and fried it. Remember that?
Yeah, because you used my little computer the rest of the week.
Yes, I did.
You may or may not have told your boss at the time that you spilled water on it.
Well, I said water, yeah.
It was definitely a wiser of man. Now, Julia, you've been coming here since you were an athlete. You won this thing, 3 times, right?
3 junior titles.
3 junior titles. Kind of a big deal. Coaching with Team New York. You've got 9,000 Lewandowskis that have come through. You've got, all sorts of New York's like the melting pot. Like Adam Hall's out there, and then Bree Santos. She's at Columbia, but she's from Virginia. I mean, just explain the makeup of the coaching staff with New York and why everybody wants to coach for New York.
Well, for me personally, it started in 2013. The state director at the time was Rob Hirsch, who was the high school coach of Hannah Greiswood. I remember her, one of my best friends. And he kind of reached out. He's like, hey, would you want to coach Team New York and Fargo? I know you don't coach Michigan. I'm like, all right, cool, sounds good. See you there. And that was the year that we actually beat California in the National Duels Finals. It was a huge deal. We were first team to ever win besides California and Texas. The girls broke the stage celebrating.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was...
Yeah, that was us. Yeah, that was my
shut
first
down
team.
Mat 1 for like 30 minutes.
Oh, at least, yeah. They had to go back underneath it and
the panel was broken, right?
Yeah, they broke it, the panel in center stage because they were all jumping up.
On the riser.
They were playing Empire State of Mind in the Fargo Dome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Send the bill to one Mr. Pedro Isaias.
Yeah, right.
And I tell you, that year, that duel, the girls were going nuts. The crowd was into it. The girls were screaming. It was cool, man.
And the kind of thing, this kind of goes untalked about when they talk about that dual meet, but we had wrestled them early in the tournament because the time they had the pool system and then they created the bracket. And in the duel, Rob Hirsch, our state director I was talking about, had this crazy idea to essentially throw that initial duel to California. And he asked me, he's like, what do you think about this? I think you're crazy, but it's your show, man. Whatever you want to do. So we
how do
wrestled-
you throw it and still have the kids wrestle hard?
So we only had one dual team. Some team has like an A and a B team. We only entered one team. And if we had a weight with 2 kids, we put in the second string kid. And then the other weights, we essentially just forfeited. We didn't throw anyone out there. The California got their hand raised. And kind of put it in their heads that this was our lineup. This is what we were going to have. And I'm like, Hirsch, we still got to get through Washington. We got to get through Texas in the semis and this bracket. He's like, I think we can do it. I'm like, you're crazy, but dude, do what you want. So we threw that duel. We get the...
So we threw
Yeah,
that
we
duel.
threw that
What is
duel.
this,
We
like
threw it.
Korean badminton at the Olympics? I mean,
So we ended up being the 3rd seed in the bracket. I think we beat Texas in the semis, but I don't remember who. Point being, we got to the finals, and that's when we started throwing up our actual lineup.
Who was who were the studs that year for you?
Alexis Porter, who was national
Yeah,
champ that year. Rachel Hale won a national title that year. She was actually a Vermont
import
transfer.
from Mount Anthony
Yeah.
Union, Vermont.
Yeah, she came in.
Beat 'em in
Rosemary
97.
Flores, Alexis Blue.
Yep.
Alexis Blue,
really,
which weight was she wrestling? Because she wrestled like
she
50
was,
weights.
I think she was a 39 that year, whatever that weight class was, 38, 39.
Because she went up to like 60 something the next year or something. I mean, it was like a significant jump. the
Fun
next
fact, Alexis Blue wrestled Forrest Molinari in that duel. Forrest took 7th in Fargo that year. Alexis took 3rd in juniors. Again, this is 6 years
Not
ago.
to get sidetracked, and you were teammates with Forrest. You wrestled at Final X last year, but I was talking to Mike Duran, the California coach, today about it, and it's like to talk about her making, being on a world team and 7th at this tournament. Like,
I was bringing it to my girls yesterday. Like, Mallory Velty, I think's best finish was 5th year, one time.
And then there was
Allie Reagan
another
never
one.
won.
Insane.
Yeah.
Well, Kelsey Campbell
Allie Reagan
made,
never won a Fargo title. She went 2-3-3-2.
Unbelievable.
Kelsey Campbell made an Olympic team, and she was 8th. In the earlier years, when it wasn't even as tough as it was now.
True.
So,
You know what? We were talking today. The level of cadet women.
oh my goodness.
Cadet women.
Nuts.
These girls are 15, 16 years old, and
You see that scramble with Faith Cole against that Illinois
Yes.
girl?
Holy
Nuts.
hits, yeah.
Nuts. That's
Yeah,
like
we were both
high
talking
level
about
scramble.
that.
And not only I thought maybe she could stalemate it out at certain points. Then she turns into her own takedown. I'm like, whoa, girl,
the
just
level
watch.
is getting so good, so compelling. So you probably enjoy seeing that,
Oh
Julia.
yeah, for sure. When I was here, we didn't even have cadets. It actually became a thing my senior year of high school, so I never got to wrestle cadets. And when they first started the division, there was a lot of it was pretty weak. There weren't a lot of girls.
I mean, I remember, I think Virginia, one of their All-Americans, was 4th in a pool of 4 the very first year of
Right.
the juniors back in 2002. So the cadets
Right.
was dealing with the same growing pains.
For sure. In the past couple years, it's almost more fun to watch than the juniors are. And these kids just getting after it. There's so many girls that come straight up. We had an 8th grader today take 4th. And just they're so talented. And Body Bar UWW Junior World Team Trial is the same thing. The cadets are almost more fun to watch because the level of women's wrestling is being raised so much. Through
It is. I don't
It's
really
insane.
know how it's happening,
Yeah.
but I mean, you look at some of these girls. I mean, no offense, but it just looks different than it did 10 years ago.
100%.
Oh, women's wrestling as a whole,
100%.
absolutely. I mean, it's, one of the themes I've been doing this week with Short Time is telling me your best Fargo stories. One of those people I want to get to eventually is Melinda Ripley, who, I use her as an example of opening my eyes to women's wrestling because the 2 years prior, Mary Kelly was winning matches against the boys at the cadets and then, moves up to juniors. And then her senior year, they create a women's tournament. The only women's wrestler I even knew was Mary Kelly. Oh, she's going to walk through this. And then that weight class had Melinda Ripley, it had Mary Kelly, had Natasha Umamoto at the time. I mean, it was like, okay, that opened my eyes to okay, there are really other good girls out there wrestling. And then Ripley beats Mary Kelly 4-1. And shut her down. I'm like, that was kind of like my seminal moment. Women's wrestling was the very first one, and now to see somebody like Kennedy Blades, oh my goodness!
Nuts.
Like Adeline had said, she's not going to go past 2020 because there's no way she wants to get Kennedy Blades in her prime.
Kennedy just does whatever she wants. We were in Sweden this year at the Copan Open, and Kennedy literally she separated a girl's shoulder just from snapping her down. The girl started hanging about 15 seconds in. Kennedy just goes double arm like Jason Dolph snap down. The girl's shoulder pops out of her socket, and match was over.
She is incredible.
Nuts.
And, Kennedy, last year, I do a lot of youth stuff. 6th, 7th, 8th grade, Super 32 middle school, schoolboy duels, VAC duels. I know a lot of youth boys results, right? I don't know the girls. I saw Kennedy last year. I was like, who is that?
Yeah.
And they were like, Kennedy Blades, girl from Illinois, she's going to 7 next year. I'm like, well, how come she wasn't at cadet trials? Well, she's too young to wrestle cadets.
Yeah, that's what you're like.
Like, what?
What?
And so, you see Kennedy, and you see, I said during the finals today, Sage Mortimer, know the name. She's going to be on the ladder for 20 years. I mean, her skills, she's that good, and her skills translate.
She's a thrower. Man, she's fun to watch.
She is fun to watch.
Can you confirm or not or deny that she's registered for Greco again? Because when she did it last year,
I say this.
I didn't realize she was a first-year cadet last year.
I say this. She is not on the boys Greco roster that they sent us.
But that could change.
But the rosters that we've been given from every state have all had some errors or omissions. So what that means, I don't know. I specifically looked to see if she was wrestling Greco, and she's not.
Frickin' Mississippi, screwing it all up.
But you have Karina Blades, and she makes a cadet world team, and she got challenged in the finals. And so it's not that there's. I mean, there's so many things. There's young talent. The talent's better. The wrestling looks better. And then there's depth to go along with it, Earl.
Yeah, and, Julie and I were talking about it. Sterling Diaz, cadet world bronze medalist.
Nice.
She got pushed in, was it the quarters by Heaven Fitch from North Carolina.
But we was a state qualifier this year against boys in North Carolina.
Yeah. And you have Alex Scott-Nicky, who's on the cadet world team, and she didn't make the finals. I was kind of writing her into the finals, wanted to see her against Sterling Diaz, but she didn't make it.
Sterling's on a different level, man.
Here's an interesting note. I was sitting next to a guy named Fab Martinez. At least that was what his Twitter handle was, because he followed me immediately after this. As we got photo opportunities here. Say here. So he was sitting next to me. He goes, "Yeah, hey, is there somebody you can look up what the team scoring would be if you only have the highest placer for weight?" And I was like, "Well, basically, you just go to Flow Arena and just pick one per weight, and you can kind of add it up." But what he was getting at is, we brought 3 cadet girls. 2 won it. So for the first time in Nevada's history, they had 2 champs the same year, same age group, same style. They had a Greco champ and a freestyle champ at 17 with Andrew Berryessa and Ty Smith, but they've never had 2 champs in the same year, the same style, and they had 2 of the 3 girls. So I was telling them the marketing pitch for Nevada to be the best wrestling. Dude, 66% of our kids won national championships.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
That's true. Julia, update me while I'm thinking about it. Update me. There's a girl in California.
Could you be more specific?
Elor.
A meet you. I already knew you were going.
There's
Meet
another
Elor.
one. Yeah.
Where is she?
She, right this minute, she's not here.
Why?
I was talking to Melinda Ripley about it last night. I don't want to go into all the personal details, but
Yeah.
she's not here. Kind of more focused on Cadet Worlds. She's been training out at the NYC RTC
Gotcha.
over with Valentine and Elena.
And she's, for those that
she's
don't know, she's
unreal.
supposed to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
It's almost.
She was taking down Tamira Mensah at camp.
Right. She's
Like
taking
yeah.
down. There's been one human to win Euregan twice for the United States. One human to ever do that. It is Tamira Mensah. There's an 8th grader 3 times. There's a 8th grader that takes her down at the OTC. It's
This
like
girl is jacked.
mythical
Like, nuts.
proportions. But that brings up a good point too. I was just wondering why she's not here. But the what I like about the women's wrestling too is that they're just down to go, right? Like, not like the sissy boys. I made a world team. I'm not going to Fargo. The girls
Macy
are like,
Kilty and
sign
Emily
me
Shilson
up.
last
I
year.
think women's
came here.
freestyle wrestling is been one of the biggest reasons why I think people are starting to like freestyle more is because they're exposed to the women's wrestling and it's freestyle. And they're like, so they get kind of a taste for it, and then they see it at the senior level or at like the higher level men's stuff. Is like, well, it's just yes. So
Yeah.
I think the women's freestyle is actually getting people that appetite for freestyle wrestling as a whole.
Yeah, you know what? It was funny. You know how, like, it was really cool to see. You know how, like, Rocky ended up winning over the Russian fans?
I remember that.
Last year,
Got every one of them on Laserdisc.
last year at Final X Penn State, you could see the crowd change. They were there for men's freestyle, and they had to sit through the women's matches.
They were there for David Taylor.
They had to sit through the women's matches. That was what was going on in their head. And halfway through, after round one, those people there were like, women's wrestling's awesome.
They didn't just get up and leave after the round 2 matches were done because we had the best of threes.
Rachel and Claudio, right?
Yeah,
And the crowd was great for them.
Keelan, Mallory.
Yeah, Velty and Mallory went 3. I mean, every time those guys, those two mix it up, that's work. That's right. And then again, the scrambling and just the I mean, Aaron Claudio and Rachel Waters are not going to put thousands of points on the board, but the situational scrambles that they had also.
Rachel hit that outside low single.
Oh my
at that
goodness!
one point.
Yeah, I
It was
mean,
so dirty.
boom. I mean, you definitely you won over one of the stingiest fan bases in wrestling.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, and the youth of them too. They're still young. I mean, Rachel's a baby. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I'm going to her senior year of college right now.
Yeah, came off of knee surgery to win the NAIA Women's Invitational. She didn't wrestle WCWA's, correct?
Yeah.
She's still off the mat. Yeah, Earl, you were down there.
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to go down there, but we won't go into that. But a common thing, we're staying on the women's point, and Julia, you've coached and competed in this event, and you've seen that growth. Where do you think this tournament stands in the level of importance to growing that next level of wrestling? Because the high schools or state associations are going, they're folk style mostly, and if not all of them, but all the colleges in the emerging sports status bid has been put in for freestyle. So a lot of focus is on the entry numbers. You set another record for cadet girls at 360. That's up over 100 from last year. So the cadet numbers are growing. The junior numbers are getting bigger every year. So, I mean, how important do you think Fargo has been to the growth of women's college wrestling?
It's huge. Just from a recruiting aspect, first of all, every college program is out here right now. That's just the cadet term, but a lot of the coaches are going to fly out tomorrow. And this is the place where you want to be seen. And Body Bar to an extent, too. But
is it not Body Bar still?
It's
not Body Bar?
Hashtag not Body Bar. The tournament formerly known as Body Bar. I'm going to call it Body Bar until I die.
It's the Body Bar.
It's Body Bar.
It's like they're the California Angels. They're not the Los Angeles Angels
right.
of Anaheim.
Body Bar hasn't paid for that sponsorship since like 2010, but it's fine.
Arno's been out of the picture for a while.
It's fine. But I mean, those are two big tournaments, but Fargo especially, just because you are next to the guys, kind of like Willie was saying, it's like people come here to watch men's wrestling and they see the women and it's like, oh man, this is cool. And there's the big lights. Body Bar is kind of like a meat and potatoes type tournament. You're there to make a world team. There's a stage, but there's no lights, there's no smoke machines, there's no big arena. Fargo's just fun. I was watching the finals today and I'm like, man, I miss wrestling up there. I got to do it 3 times. That's some of the best memories of my wrestling career. But just from a growth standpoint, we're making our case about emerging sports status. We're showing that there's not only interest at the high school level, but it's consistently growing. One of the Wrestle Like a Girl stats that gets thrown around a lot is that women's wrestling is the fastest growing high school sport in the country. And it shows in these entry numbers. I think cadets were up by 100 athletes.
Yeah, 102, 360.
We're not going up by like 10, 15, 20 athletes.
And
we're
there's no auto All-Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Like heavyweight had there was still low numbers there, but these brackets are 30 and 40 deep, which at the beginning of the USA Wrestling Junior men's back in the 70s, and those brackets, they're bigger than some of those tournaments too.
And you
so
got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? And
crawl before you can walk.
Right. And kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, this cadet tournament, like, at first it's like, is this going to take off? I don't know. And now we have some weights had like 64-man brackets. And
the juniors is not just populated with all the cadets wrestling up either. I mean, you got plenty of that, but still it's not like juniors, okay, the girls are getting 2 matches. There's legit junior teams, legit cadet-only teams too.
And you know what you're also seeing is it used to be Washington. It used to be a West Coast sport.
Yeah. Hawaii, Washington, California, and then Southwest Texas. That was pretty much.
Yeah, and now you're getting girls from everywhere, and you're getting the grassroots, I guess you would say.
Missouri brought like 56 girls this year or something.
There was an all Missouri finals today.
Yeah.
There was an
4 girls in the
Missouri
finals
today. And you're getting more Jersey girls, getting more New York girls.
Illinois had over 50 girls this
Illinois
year.
They've not even sanctioned wrestling yet, and they won the junior duels, and them in California had a chance to break the record for most cadet champs here. They both had 5 in the finals. Granted, nobody swept it, but still.
Very, very disappointed in my home state.
Still hasn't sanctioned it yet.
still hasn't sanctioned it yet. Our women's numbers are low. Where did it just fail for sanctioning? It just failed in like either
Nebraska by one vote.
Yeah.
One vote. In
One
Nebraska.
vote.
That's a fail.
I blame Craig Picorni's head.
Yes.
Sorry, Craig. I love you, man.
And then if you're looking at these states that just got sanctioned, New Jersey,
Arkansas.
Well, New Jersey, they had a ton of growth at the high school level. Missouri just had their first tournament. You talked about what they did with their 4 finalists and all the cadets they brought out. So you get it sanctioned, it's only going to grow from there.
Super pumped about it. I'm super pumped about everything with women's wrestling. Lock Haven starting a program that was, man, I thought that was a prime location for years. I really, truly did.
And they had like a women's club team that.
Yeah.
Terry Fike was the coach there for a while. He was one of the early leaders in women's college.
Aaron Tomio came out of there. I mean, Emma Randall. I mean, it's
Jenny Wong, Sarah McMahon.
Yeah.
Sarah
one thing I was
McMahon
disappointed-
beat a guy at a college open. Beat a guy from Lehigh at a college open.
Yeah.
Then had to wrestle, I think, Scott Moore.
The only thing I'm disappointed in, Hawaii was a national power. They brought 3 wrestlers to cadets and had 1 placer. They have 16 points. What is that about, Julia?
That's a great question. And kind of like you were mentioning earlier, like women's wrestling used to be like a West Coast sport, and
Hawaii,
I count Hawaii into that. And they used
Hawaii's
to bring
sanctioned,
girls,
right? They've been
They
like
were one of the
They've
first.
had a
They were one
girls'
of the
state
first.
tournament forever.
Yeah. And it's like I remember when I was in high school, it's like if you pulled Hawaii, you were like, ah, shit, like
Crap,
I'm
she's
about
got
to
judo.
I'm gonna get thrown in my head in about
Yeah.
13 seconds. I remember, even before the Allo sisters, there were the 2 twins that wrestled in the finals that one year.
Oh, no, they were not twins. They were sisters.
It's gonna drive me nuts.
Oh, it's going to drive me nuts, too.
One started with a T. That's all I remember.
No. I'll get it. Keep talking. I'll get it.
Yeah,
Without looking it up.
But they were good. I mean, they had kids that were they were hammers.
So
one
I
was
don't
a
get
senior,
it.
one
and
was
they
a
had
sophomore.
smaller teams. I mean, there were
No,
8 to 10 kids, but all 8 to 10 kids are placing.
Yeah,
and then they
and
won't
they
come
have a
for
state
a while.
tournament,
and
right?
then-
I'm going to check.
They have a state tournament, so they have numbers. So what that says to me, and from what little birdies tell me, it's the current administration.
Yeah.
I would think so. Because I know John Robinson was in charge for a while, and he always brought a large contingent. And John Robinson's always still out here, but he's either officiating or doing other things. And I mean, but I don't think he's in charge anymore. But I don't know. John Robinson's here, but he's not in charge of the women's program anymore that I know of. I know Kalani Corbett is always out here coaching, but I don't know if he's state director or what.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's an expensive trip. You'll get all those flights and stuff together, but they made it work before. Why now? The tournament is growing. Why are they scaling back?
I'm not at all. Listen, women's wrestling's great. Fargo, the cadet tournament was great. I seen the skill level for cadet finals was the best I've ever seen it.
And it was
By
also
far.
tactical, too, because the girls knew who had criteria. A couple matches went to criteria. They knew the situation because they're growing up wrestling with this style now. They're aware. They're not like, okay, this is my second freestyle tournament ever.
Yeah.
Every single athlete in those finals today was a seasoned athlete, whether they were their first year or their third year, fourth year, fifth year wrestling. I mean, you can see the jumps that they're doing. These athletes, when they get one great year of good coaching, they're ready just because they pick up on it so well.
And on that same note, women's wrestling, I don't know what this is.
You're supposed to know everything.
What?
You know all the songs.
This is emo punk crap. Nomad would know this.
This sounds like
no emo punk crap, or does he just look like an emo?
He
punk?
looks like
he
he's
does.
from
We had
straight out of My
discussion about
Chemical
it once.
Romance
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying, like women's wrestling is all starting to get qualified coaches that want to coach these girls. Before it was like someone's dad who's like, he wrestled a couple years in high school. He's like, yeah, I'll jump in there. And now we're getting college coaches to coach these girls and former senior level athletes and current senior level athletes.
What's it mean for girls to be coached by girls, or young women to be coached
so
by women?
important. It's so important. And not we still need men's coaches too, but to have role models to look up to and have these girls showing them like, hey, I've done this before. I came through Fargo. I wrestled in college because of Fargo, and like it's huge. And they need to see that there are opportunities past Fargo.
It made me feel old because I saw.
Join the club, brother.
I saw Gould today on the coaching staff for California. I'm like, geez, Louise, I watched her.
Who'd you that? Who was that?
Leah Gould.
Oh yeah, wow, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, I've been coming here so long. She's a coach now.
Oh,
Going into her senior year of college. She's one of mine, yeah.
I mean, Melinda's been on the staff forever, and she 02. She was one of the first champs. So Oh, I mean, soon. I mean, Julie, I remember first time I ever saw you, you dislocated your elbow.
Yeah, Folkestone National Finals in 2010. It was
Oh
a
my
rematch.
God!
And it was a rematch of the Fargo Finals the previous summer.
Yeah,
that I won.
oh my gosh! Don't look at it. This was in Oklahoma City. That was my introduction to Julia Salata's sarcasm, cracking jokes as her elbow is in. We're in Oklahoma City. Her elbow's in Tulsa.
It's disgusting. There's this loud snap. I wanted to wrestle and they wouldn't let me. There was like 30 seconds left. I was up by 2.
It was
and
a
I was
Youth
on
Olympic
bottom.
Games qualifier.
No, I won the Youth Olympic Games
Okay.
qualifier 2 days prior. I beat Demi Strubb in the finals. And then the next day was Folkestone Nationals. I wrestled Brittany Goebel.
Shifting gears, Willie.
Yeah.
The boys have taken to the mats. We've got a good cadet finals set to go. We've got juniors taking the mats. Thankfully, the juniors finally hit mat 1 because I was telling Earl today, I haven't seen a junior match all day. I am going to throw out one little stat from my home area. Nick Villafiata, 2 up, 2 down. First guy from the coverage area of the newspaper I work for, Bay Rivers District, to make a final in 16U, that's 2. 16U freestyle since 1997 when my former teammate Mike Akers and Victor Jackson, who was never my teammate, went to my high school. He went to my church, though, so 2 Pocosin kids made the finals in 97. Last time it's happened. Now, there are some asterisks. Patrick Bond was originally from the Peninsula. Nick Frost won a national title when Arizona. He was originally from the Peninsula, but entry number. I'm getting off. I'm doing JB things. I'm doing the whole squirrel thing.
You're doing JB things.
I'm doing JB things. So, JB number 1 because Burroughs is not wrestling, so he's relegated to number 2 here. That's a weird side note. And I've only had 1 beer, folks. So entry numbers, huge. Talked to Pete Isaias yesterday. He goes, I think the quality is better. Yeah, we don't have the hammers because of the emphasis on Cadet Worlds and such in Akron, but instead of the 1s, the Dream Teamers, the first team A6 guys wrestling here, your 2 through 8 are tougher than they were 15 years ago. We may not have the elite champions like we did 15 years ago, but we're getting. We've got more weights, but our numbers are at all-time high. Every single tournament that's been wrestled so far has set a record already for entries.
I'll tell you.
That was a really long question.
I'll tell you what I think it is. I think that, the guys that...
I'm still looking up this Hawaii name.
The guys that make world teams, there's 10 weights. So you lose them, and visibly it's like, oh, they're not here. But realistically, that's only 1 guy per weight, Now, there are some guys that say, oh, I went to Akron, I went to Vegas, I'm not going to Fargo. You lose a couple of them. But...
Chrissy and something Chow. I haven't even seen the name, but
Mindy.
Chrissy and Mindy Chow.
Chrissy and Mindy Chow.
Look, I haven't even looked, and it came to me. And there they are, Chrissy and Mindy Chow.
So,
did not start with a T.
The OG Doys before the Doys.
Was not a Sakamoto. Was not a Yamaguchi. Was not a Takahashi.
What year was that?
10.
That was like early.
He solved one problem. I'm giving him another task.
Well, I've got it up on my screen
10.
right now.
10.
2010.
Because I was
If you only had a
Absolutely
resource
2010.
where you could look those things up.
Yeah, if you could only go to FargoAlmanac.com and buy the greatest collection of Fargo, air quotes, stats ever created.
Solid
It is.
plug.
Put it
is
this way.
awesome.
It's so good, Flow Wrestling retweets the plug for it.
Hey, so next year's the 50th year.
50th.
It's the 50th year. It's going to be tricky now. It's not the 50th year of Fargo.
It's the 50th Junior Nationals.
It's the 50th Junior Nationals.
Do you know when this tournament combined here and brought cadets and juniors together? It's in the guide.
I do not. When did cadets become a thing?
Cadets started in 86. It merged. They came Fargo, as we know it, for juniors.
Let me guess. Not the year that they merged. I have no clue.
We were both in high school. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I will guess then. But first, juniors. What was the first year ever for juniors? I'm going to say 75.
71.
71, okay.
Dude, if that's the 50th, how many schools did you go to?
2020.
I don't know.
You were definitely an English guy. You were not a math guy.
You're right. That was a layup, and I blew it.
Yeah, 40. And Sandy has announced 48 of 49 right
So I'm going to say...
Think about that for a minute.
Did they merge? Did they merge when they were in... did they merge when they came to Fargo? Or did they merge when they were in council?
Juniors was by itself in Fargo for 3 years.
Okay.
Before 93, 94, 95. Then 96, they all came together here.
Okay.
And I've been coming here since 99.
And you said 86 was the first year?
86 first-year cadets.
And where was that held?
It was
various places?
It's in the guide. It's in the book. I know it was in Warrensburg for a while. Lincoln. It was a couple different places.
So
Brian Hazard actually won cadets.
Yes, he did. I remember.
Right here. Rob Prebish beat Kerry Kolat. Adam Fenn placed.
Rob Prebish beat Kerry Kolat.
In Greco.
Okay.
Cadet Greco finals.
Because that almost broke my brain.
Yeah, like I said, sorry, Kerry. The only other loss, that was, I don't know, Kerry might have gotten hosed on a review on that one, too.
I'll tell you what.
Too soon?
I know that Rob likes to
break his finger.
Yeah, Rob probably thinks very highly of. He probably talks very highly of beating Kerry Kolat. But Rob, listen.
Not unless you bring it up.
After the Kolat doc on Flow, you probably got him cattle prodded.
Oh, man.
If you haven't seen it, his dad would use a cattle prod on him. No big deal. But getting back to the quality at Fargo.
Or in the depth, the numbers are up.
And the depth. Yeah, you lose. For right now, for whatever reason, you lose some guys that went through the trials process. Whether it's to them, Fargo doesn't mean as much. Whether it's, their family spent a lot of money traveling to other places. I get it. But, and I think this is what we all do great. I think we can give credit to the media for making things matter a little bit more, giving it some emphasis. We all blow Fargo up, right? We all make Fargo. I mean, Fargo's great. Fargo's a thing.
This is the greatest town in the country for 8 days in July.
But also, when Earl puts out rankings on the open mat, and I put out rankings, and Intermat puts out rankings.
Every major outlet does a preview for this.
Yeah, it makes people want to achieve a ranking status, and so what I think is different now than, say, 10, 15 years ago is that the numbers 21 through 40 are better. Number 40 can beat number 10.
That's a very good way to put it.
In any given match, in any given 6 or 7 or 4 or 6 minutes, they can win that match. Where 20 years ago, you weren't. I don't think the United States of America had the depth to mess with people. Like, you can't mess with the top 25.
And here's another thing too. I think. And I bring this up because I was from a non-power state, whereas when you get into a tight match with the Pennsylvania, the Iowa, the California, the Virginia kid isn't going to get the call. The Tennessee kid's not going to get the call. I think the depth has been improved so much that, like, I think the singlet call has gone away considerably because now we've got, with the advent of regional training centers, the kids that, like, in Tennessee can go train in Chattanooga with the college guys, or
sure.
We're seeing the singlet call go away because the wrestling is developing in more states. It's not like, Arkansas brought 80 kids. Are you kidding me?
No, they didn't.
80 entries, I think.
Arkansas brought 80
total. I
kids?
think that's everybody, but I think it's all 6 styles.
I was at the Denver airport on a layover, I think, with the entire Arkansas team.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's everybody.
That
I think
is
there might be some doubles,
encouraging.
but because I remember the first year they brought a team here. Pat Smith, I think, and Sam Hazewinkle was helping with Alabama that year, and then Pat Smith was with Arkansas, and they went 1-19, I think, in the first round. And a kid named Tyler Mann won the first. His brother Tanner wrestled at
he was
OB,
eventually
Division II guy, Willie. So I'll inform you there.
I will take the time to
Don't
clarify on
start
that. That's for another show.
Yeah,
but
that was like
Tyler Mann eventually was an AA,
it was like less
right?
than 10 years ago. No, Tanner Mann was. The one that was just finished up at Ouachita Baptist with Crutchmer as a coach. Tanner was. Tyler was a smaller one, but he's on the coaching staff this year. But he won their first ever match out here as a state association. Side note, Leo Bogai made the finals for Arkansas, but he was the only guy on their team. They didn't even have a state association. The next year he represented Oklahoma. Factoid.
So, what do you think? Also, I mean, You see the proliferation of RTCs. Kids get more access to elite level coaching. We talked about the media having an effect in the middle of summer. What is everybody talking about in wrestling? They go to the open mat, they go to Flow, they go to Mat Talk, they go to Intermat, they go anywhere you go. They're talking about Fargo, right? So people
Hashtag Fargo 2019.
So people go, that's where people want to go. But what do you think is the impact? And I have an opinion on this either way. But what do you think the impact is in better rules nowadays for freestyle?
Oh, I think 2013 changed the game. 2013 changed it, and I'm going to point to a Greco match. Dalton Roberts scored, was it 20-16 in a 100-pound junior Greco final the year they changed the rules. That was the moment we're like, yep, we've got Fargo back, because it was some of the most painful things to see. 01-10-10, the binary code, the binary code of wrestling, and binary, that spells out boring. And 2013, again, I think this all goes to the top level thing. I think everything that happened in 2013
this goes right to the top.
We're
talking about Trump. We're talking about.
We're not talking about Trump on this podcast.
All right.
We're not talking about anything political. I
thought
hate
that's
politics.
what you meant. It goes to the top.
It went to the Martinetti era, basically bending wrestling over for almost a decade, if not more. That was the greatest thing that happened to our sport. Was almost
I
losing.
mean, we had a few years there.
It sucked so bad.
Not only did the rules suck.
How about
the
Julie?
rules
You
changed
wrestled in that era,
Yeah,
those rules.
the rules changed
that
from
era.
year.
I have to. I was great in the clinch, so from an athlete, I won't. It doesn't matter if I had the leg, if I didn't get the leg.
And we're
Whatever.
talking
I
leg
was
clinch, not Jamil
was
Kelly clinch.
Phenomenal in the clinch. But it sucked. It was bad for the sport. How do you determine who wins a match by going over and picking a ball out of a hat? I mean, it's so at this point it becomes like a child's game. Like, my ball came up, I now have an advantage. I mean, it's
Go ahead.
stupid. I mean, but how do you explain to a fan like this is how we decide who wins in our sport in the biggest stage?
And the only reason they had to go to a ball in the bag was because
no one scored and no one was encouraged to score, and there was nothing you could do about it.
One year, were you in Council Bluffs the year they drew 8 straight blue balls out of the bag? 8
Can you repeat
straight blue balls, yes.
Wait, I'm deaf.
Like
What did you say?
in
little
one-
loud.
I said blue balls.
Oh my God! Jason said blue balls.
Hey, it's my show. I don't have the censors like you guys in Austin.
Censors.
I won't get mad if somebody beats off somebody else in a tournament.
Hey. Yeah, that's
This
why
may be alcohol induced.
I hate it talking about after the Final X. I kept saying, "Did Yanni expose himself?"
And you don't want us exposing ourselves. What's the movie? What's the reference?
I don't know.
Earl?
I know it. It's on the tip of my tongue.
I'll give you partial credit if you can say the actor who mentioned it.
That's even harder.
No, it's not. Bill Murray said it.
Ghostbusters 2?
No. First one.
Oh.
Hey,
We can play that game the next show we do. We're getting in a deep conversation. By the way, in case you're wondering us rambling on
what
here,
were we talking about again?
we're the growth of Fargo.
growth
And the
of
rule
Fargo.
set. You had brought up the
The
rule
rule
set before Jason Bryan had the conversation.
There was a year where the trials. Well, I got to the trials. I'm pretty dang sure, it was the one that was in Gallagher, Iba. And
14.
13.
I got
13.
there.
That was the year the rules
That was
changed.
the first year Dick and Burroughs wrestled.
And they got there, and
Only one I
we were,
haven't been to.
just walking around the day or two before the event. They were like, "Yeah, the rules changed." I'm like, "What?"
Because we had overtime.
Yes. And so,
But
they
that
were
was
just
just a U.S. modification.
Yes.
That wasn't UW rule. That was
Because
just the U.S. that decided
Dake
to
and
do it.
Howell went
But
for like
hold on.
8 or 9 minutes or
I
something.
No, it was
think
like 13.
that-
It was nuts. You hit that shut.
But I think
Gotta
that
love
there
having
was
Julie on the
indication.
show.
I think the reason USA did that, I thought, I'm pretty sure, is that there was a memo passed around from UWW at the time, FILA, indicating that's the direction they were going. I mean, that's how screwed up it was. Bottom line, sorry to bore you, sorry to ramble on. The point is, the rules now encourage action. It's nonstop. I mean, I don't know.
Very
I don't know
rare.
how.
you
If you're
see-
listening to this, you like
Was it
freestyle.
Ben
Greco.
and Dernlin did the whole stat breakdown. I think at the World Championships last year, there was only, 3 1-1 matches? 3 out of 400 or something like
Well,
that. That's crazy.
The point is, if you're listening to this, you like freestyle Greco. But I don't think there's... I like freestyle Greco more than folk style. I don't know how you cannot. It has to be nonstop.
I like the atmosphere our college style brings. I prefer the fast-paced action of freestyle, and I freaking loathe riding time.
There you go, boss.
Awful.
There you go. Now you're talking.
So, I'm sorry. I don't mean to piss on the old-timers like, oh, sport's about control.
Okay.
Yeah.
But control is boring.
We got a Chris Moen in the house.
Yeah, we're just listening to your podcast testing. I thought it was like a trivia or something.
So I heard
we're
it's
still
your fault.
live.
You can't listen
Chris
to Pataya
Moen.
theme
And we
song
got
when
Heather
he's here.
Bunny. Heather Bunny,
Chris Moen here. If you don't
lead wrestling
know
flight
Chris
attendant for
Moen
United
is
Airlines.
the sight and sound of USA Wrestling. He just walked in the building.
Chris Moen wrestled at North Dakota State.
No, we're not PG.
Don't know F-bombs,
We're
but
not
everything
PG.
else might be okay.
Jason just said blue ball.
I said blue ball like 8 times.
9 now.
So let's
I've only
talk
said
about this.
correction twice, and I've only said cadets now 3 times.
ASCAM, BMI, all that big music people.
All right.
Yeah, we're still going to get the Pataya song played, by the way. Moen's explaining the music situation.
It's just coming on my
Willie, I'm not doing any editing to this show, so
No, don't do any editing.
no editing.
I want people to hear Moen. But
Chris Moen was a University Nationals champion in Greco-Roman.
Didn't know that.
And I
yeah,
retired and went to pro wrestling and then came back.
Yep, he was in pro wrestling school with John Cena.
Really?
Yeah, that dude, for a guy that had no wrestling
Talking to the
background-
mic. Moen, you've never been on the show, ever.
No,
You and I have
this guy
groomed
did.
together for freaking
For
15
a guy
years.
that had
Talk into
no
the microphone.
Wrestling background.
Keep going.
He can move pretty well.
No wrestling background. So, who of wrestling world would we know that you were in pro wrestling
The
school
best
with?
in that school would have been Shelton Benjamin. Minnesota
Shelton
heavyweight.
Benjamin.
Yes. The
Orangeburg.
most athletic guy the stuff that he did in the ring, tightrope around.
Shelton Benjamin and Chris Hauser are my favorite tag teams of all time.
Yeah, he was.
Dudley Boys.
Oh, me, dude! I was Bubba Ray Dudley for Halloween one year.
Yeah.
Think about it.
When I was in the school, I had 3 guys that would work on me. John Cena. I only knew him as Prototype. I knew his first name was John. I didn't know his last name was Cena. Shelton Benjamin. And then Rico Constantino, who was on American Gladiators way back in the late 80s, early 90s.
What was his name? What was
Rico
his?
Constantino.
No,
was
but what was his like? 'Cause there was like Tower and there was like
Blaze,
Laser, and, like
Laser,
Blaze, yeah.
Turbo.
No,
Turbo.
he was a participant. He was a guy that
Oh, really?
was trying to battle the gladiators.
Oh,
and he
dun,
won
dun, dun,
it.
dun, dun. Mike
Extremely
Adamley
athletic.
loved him.
Yeah, very good.
And was it Goldberg or Golick? One of the Golick brothers and Mike Goldberg. Was that Mike Goldberg's early deal? Was American Gladiators? I don't know.
Goldberg?
Not that Goldberg.
Gilbert?
Not Dwayne Gill either. We can talk pro wrestling for hours. Also, Moen, you have a match that is on. You had it on Facebook for a while. A pro wrestling
It's
match.
on my YouTube site.
Yeah, it was you and what's it? You and who were you with the
Swordsman.
Swordsman against like Ill Will and Insane Wayne or something?
Yeah,
Jim Cornette,
Yeah.
like tennis racket. Jim Cornette called one of Chris Moen's
and
pro
Kenny
wrestling
Bowling, his
bouts.
buddy from in Kentucky.
It was one of the coolest things.
I don't understand where they came up with my bio because it's like I didn't go to the University of Minnesota.
Dude, come on, don't break kayfabe.
Well, the thing is, I had given my pro wrestling name to him before, and now it's like well, we don't do those silly names, so it's like
Ended up being a bad Jim Carrey movie, The Majestic.
no, I had the Majestic.
But it was your walkout music. They used War Machine, right?
War
That was what
Machine
you're.
from Kiss.
Yeah, of course, he's a Kiss guy.
It was either that or the Immigrant Song, and then they proved the War Machine, and after that show, John Cena's entrance music was the Immigrant Song. It's like son of a gun. They stole my other side of my tape.
Oh, let's see. John Cena, Chris Moen. In retrospect, they probably made the right decision.
I give it to them. They had pretty well invested money. I think they came up well above their investment. So,
All right, we're gonna let Moen get some beverages here. What do you got
Diet
there?
sodas, man. Diet sodas.
Ooh, contribution. Oh, cool. Well, we paid for 2 of Willie's beers with the gift card here. But by the way, we were off time. Heather has been traveling the world as United's wrestling ambassador. Dad's a referee. She's just here for the Herd and Horns. Heather's not going to be on the show.
Heather is not even. Listen, Heather's not even like. There's no video with the
She's
show.
trying
it's
to help
audio,
us out with the
and
bill.
she's blushing. She's blushing because we mentioned her name.
Well, she does put up with me.
Well, because we mentioned her real name. It's actually her real name is Heather Bunny with an IE.
Just like the Big Lebowski, right?
It's like pretty official.
Yeah.
She's KOBD in wrestling.
Okay, enjoy, guys.
All right. Listen,
we'll let him get
we
to
got-
it. Back to our. Have we ever answered the question yet?
What was the question?
We're talking about the growth and the depth and
The growth and the
RTC.
depth. Yeah, we talked.
Yeah, it's
2013
good.
and rules changed.
We talked about all of it.
I
We
got to
talked
say, by the way,
about
this is a much
RTCs, we
better
talked about
episode than I
rules.
thought we were going to do. So far, we are crushing it here.
Well, listen, we're like half hour in.
No, we're not. We're like 50 minutes in,
It was
Willie.
15 minutes?
50.
50?
Yeah.
I've only drank in one Easton juice.
You are the slowest drinker ever.
But listen,
You haven't even tried to order food yet.
we haven't even gotten
Where'd
to.
the fifth mug come from?
Well,
Because they didn't
because
take one.
they don't. Yeah.
We haven't even gotten to men's yet.
Well,
We haven't gotten
Here's
to
the thing.
it.
Here's what I'm thinking. 2 days from now, so it's Sunday. So on Tuesday, we will recap all of freestyle. I think this is kind of our icebreaker episode where we
All
had
right.
a women's final. So I don't want to. I mean, we don't even have a final to talk
Well, I
about
wanna
yet
talk about
with the
this,
boys.
though.
But we can talk topics here.
I want to talk about this topic. My
Absolutely.
friend. Pennsylvania, 52 points, 12 guys left. 4 in the finals, 8 in the wrestlebacks. 8 other placers, essentially, because we're on the medalist round now. So Pennsylvania 52 with 12 left. Ohio 46 with 10 left. Minnesota 44 with 12 left. Georgia.
How about that crew they've got coming through right now?
Georgia.
It's been happening for a while.
37.
They started with schoolboys, then they connect.
with 7 left. Georgia is in front of Illinois. Illinois. Earl,
Wow.
We were saying
did you
we were.
ever think that you would see Georgia in front of Illinois? Maybe you have, but this early?
Well, Willie, one
no,
thing.
not-
Earl and I were. Well, I'm doing. We're looking through the stats because I don't do coverage of this like I used to. Earl's got more the traditional web coverage, whereas I don't have a traditional web coverage type of shtick anymore. But I'm still here to do the stats and throw things out there. Nomad's kind of in this same vein with the stuff that he comes up with. But when we look at what weight was Illinois' first finalist in? I'm going through the semifinals. Like we got, was it like 140 something? I can't remember. I was like, whoa, Illinois got there because I write it down, and then I was like, wow, it's been this long since Illinois had a guy in the finals. It was like they didn't have, they'd have 5 or 6 in the first 4 or 5 weights, and now it's like, okay, it's crazy. I mean, Illinois is going to have a dominant thing, but I just,
check
what do you
this
think?
out.
Are they just having a bad tournament, or
Check
is it,
this out.
what?
No, Illinois is down. Illinois is down. Illinois, even every year, Illinois.
They're a B plus right now, and they're down. That's their tradition of excellence, right?
No. Illinois' numbers are always inflated. Even when they barnstorm Fargo, their numbers are inflated, and I'll tell you how and why.
Well, they qualify through the regionals, first of all.
They qualify more guys. They bring more guys, and it's not just about like.
Yes, Solana. We got a fan
Solana
club.
has fans in the house.
Ouch.
You might. Who's the most popular women's wrestler? Like social / just cool factor.
Like,
You're
who's
like
my
top
favorite?
2.
I don't know about all that.
Like
That's- I'm just
if
really
there's a women's wrestler
loud and
wrestling fans
abrasive.
want to hang out and
I
drink
would've
beers with,
said
I think you're at the
Julia
top
was
of the
top
list.
2
I'm just loud and abrasive and
before
about it.
Forrest dropped F-bombs.
Yeah.
She vaulted.
Yo,
Yeah.
who coached her? Who did she learn from?
Forrest dropped an F-bomb. That's why I like. That's why say what you want. Say what you want.
It's about passion, yeah. It's emotion.
and here's
It's
what I
like,
think
if you
that
want
whole
kids to go out
situation
there and
got-
censor themselves and put on a fake smile, do what you want. But I'd rather see kids being honest and putting their
I don't think the
real selves
problem
out there.
was with the F-bomb. And here's what I think and Willie, you might want to.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah, Willie, you might want to peek in on this part. I don't think the problem was the F-bomb or the passion. I think where some of the side of the table is how the F-bomb was promoted versus it was like focus on the
there
wait.
you
Turn
go. it on flow.
No. I'm saying here is where that comes from. It's like it's not the word, it's maybe how the word was promoted versus like and you got to understand that can rub people the wrong way. I think there's nothing wrong with what she said, how she said it. I think she apologized to Sam Herring right away because she realized there was a kid right there in the interview too, right? But
Yeah.
I don't think
she
I
should
think
even
the whole thing
apologize
was
to Sam Herring.
Well,
Listen.
I think the whole thing was blown out of proportion. Absolutely, I don't think there was anything wrong with what you guys did in promoting it. I just think it's just you got to realize some people will promote that, and some people are like, you could have thrown a beep. That's the only devil's advocate thing I have for you.
I don't care.
I don't disagree with you.
I don't care that some people found it distasteful. I don't care that some people get offended by it. You know what I care about?
What do you care about, Willie?
Listen, the same people.
Medals.
The same people that are saying,
off the rails we go. Let's go.
Oh, my goodness gracious. She said an F word. There's children listening. They're the same people that are cheating on their wives.
Devil's advocate. I'm going to ask you devil's advocate question. Devil's advocate question.
Yeah.
How hard is it to just put a beep in there? That's devil's advocate. Same effect would have come through, right?
You don't.
I don't also want to.
Why censor people?
I don't want to dive into. Well, if you're listening in the car and you got a 12-year-old that you don't really want to teach that yet. That's again devil's advocate. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I think people.
I also think that we probably should table this.
We're getting into moral discussions.
Yeah.
I'm of the.
Can we get back to Forrest being a badass and Julia being a badass too? That's what we're talking about, right?
I'm of the opinion that words are words. Words are words. I mean, if your kid can't handle SHIT and FUCK, they got a scary world ahead of them because they better learn. You better teach it soon. I mean, tell your kid that's if
here's what not to say.
Use it as a teachable moment.
Hey, listen. She
that
said
is
that word.
A good way to look at it, Earl.
Emotional.
Earl's got kids.
Don't say that.
He's got an old kid too.
Blah, blah, blah,
Yes.
Right.
I'm just
not
the hijack it, but okay, because where we went with this was like cool people to hang out with in women's wrestling, and I thought Julia was in the top two, or was like one, and then Forrest jumped over, and then kicked total ass at the the Dogu.
Yeah, Julia. Julia and Forrest are probably 1 and 2.
Julia and I are the best tag team karaoke ever in wrestling.
I've never even heard you guys. Facts. Me and Willie would take it.
No, Willie was in he was there that year.
Okay, well, I'll carry the team.
Willie did walk in Uzbekistan. The first thing he saw in Tashkent was me singing More Than Words with a Russian chick by Extreme.
Were you there?
Yeah, it was bad.
I remember Bader being there.
It was bad.
They were roommates. They were right next to me the whole time.
I don't remember laughing at karaoke bar.
I'll tell you what.
That's okay.
Uzbekistan was bad, man. Awful. The whole experience was bad.
Awful.
Except the wrestling. The wrestling was awesome. And so, you hear Uzbekistan and then you hear Kazakhstan, but because Kazakhstan's where Worlds are this year.
Are you going?
Yeah, I'm going. But Kazakhstan is night and day from Uzbekistan. I mean, at least that city.
Oh, yeah, because remember, there's no power lines. And it's safer than Iowa City.
Oh, my God, Tim Foley.
Good thing he doesn't listen to Short Time.
All right, now listen. We're talking about this. Let's get back to the team scores.
We got way off.
Jump in?
Can I let you jump in with after one thing?
All right, Kanye.
I'm going to blow you finish. I'm going to blow your mind. Earl.
He's blown us up with the Georgia thing. Now what's next?
If you combine, oh my God, Mr. Focus here. He's going to lose his mind. 19.
Remember, Willie's already struggled with math once tonight.
If you combine Iowa, California, if you combine the scores of Iowa, California, and New Jersey, they don't equal Georgia's score.
Georgia.
That sounds like a you problem.
Count the wrestlers.
It sounds like a Jersey problem.
Jersey's half the size of half those states.
With twice the population.
Well, per capita.
Here comes the wrestling per capita.
Jersey wants to put per capita numbers on it.
Oh, no, Iowa always loves the per capita argument.
I know,
JD Rader right here,
point.
he knows what I'm talking about. He loves the per capita argument. You can't count per capita in Pennsylvania.
How many NCAA champs do we have?
That's on your state association. Then why ain't you showing out here?
We can solve trivia real quick.
A couple injuries I do know.
That's what. Okay, injuries.
Broken kneecaps is completely unrelated.
You're getting.
I don't lie. I got no reason to lie. A couple injuries I do know. God's honest truth, and I'm not gonna blow people's spot. A couple injuries I do know we would be in a different spot. And
Willie, please introduce our guest, by the way. Please introduce our guest.
A couple.
For those
you'd be in a different spot. Georgia is mud stomping you.
Everywhere I look is Georgia and Georgia shirt. Georgia has a lot of heads here. Don't count the points. Count the points per person.
Oh, per capita.
Nevada wins that argument. Cadet women all day. 3 girls, 2 champs.
If you run the
Done.
numbers to bring that many kids, God bless you. But let's look at the entries and let's look at the finishes. Jersey's not doing bad.
Georgia has as many classes in wrestling as Virginia, like 40. There's like 9,000 state champs in Georgia. Who knows how good they are? Apparently they're showing out.
Mr.
God
Foka,
bless him. God bless him.
Coach Foka, I love you, but
Look, it's all good for the sport, bro. I don't care.
I know, I'm not saying that Georgia is better than New Jersey.
No, it's not.
I'm saying this.
Matter of fact,
saying
drop
this.
right there. This is the best show
I'm saying
ever.
this. New Jersey cadets,
It's all because of Willie.
you have
Greatest mind in wrestling, folks.
8 points and 2 placers.
Okay, so listen.
No, I ain't listening. You're telling me right now that New Jersey, the state of New Jersey,
I'm
has
not going to argue with you.
2 individuals 16 and under that are capable of placing here.
Willie, you yourself know. Let's look at the juniors division. Right?
Oh, the
Listen,
junior
let's look at the
division.
junior division. Hold on. A lot of the wrestlers that did very well in the cadets are not here right now representing Georgia.
I don't want. That's a you problem.
Listen.
That's a your state association.
YPMP, I don't know all your technical mumbo
That's
jumbo.
a you problem. Your state association did not get enough participants or good enough participants, or New Jersey stinks.
Our cadets are young right now. You ever heard of rebuilding? We got 8th graders and freshmen, and they're doing great.
I'm from
This
Pennsylvania. We
this
don't
is
rebuild,
happening
we
right now,
reload.
folks. This is happening.
Love you,
This
buddy.
this just happened.
PA's doing great.
This is amazing.
Iowa's doing great. Georgia's looking really good, and Georgia has a lot of heads in there.
Georgia, add them up. Georgia has more points than New Jersey, California, and someone else combined.
Mississippi.
Iowa.
Iowa. Okay, now let's let Earl go.
Earl's the most, not talkative podcaster ever.
Okay, so
He
I
had a voice
wanted to
amazing
give
where
a.
you're like-
Well, no, I'm kind of going off topic a little bit, but I wanted to give our buddy, I think everybody at this table, personal friend Cliff Fretwell, Compound Wrestling. They had their first individual Fargo
Yeah.
champion, Amani Jones, in the cadet women's.
You know where Amani's at every summer? The King University Wrestling Camp. Just saying. Plug.
so-
I had to plug it, but
Everybody's getting a plug in.
no.
Kayla Miracle, baby.
Uh-oh. You're
Four
throwing the
national titles, verse 1, buddy.
Throwing Campbellsville at King.
Yo,
That's
well,
fighting
listen,
words
listen.
there.
But Lee Miracle makes some of the best hot sauce you will ever have in your life. Fact.
You know who else makes good hot sauce? Scott Ross from Georgia. I can bring that back to Georgia.
It's called Great Hot.
Yes. Great sauce is raw. Yeah. Dave Matthews knows all about it. All right, where are we at, Willie? I yield,
Where we're at is
I yield the
that,
calm to you here.
where we're at is that Jason wants to wait till tomorrow to discuss individual results on the cadet side.
Well,
which
no, okay, let's stand
I'm
out. What stood out the first day and a half of cadets and juniors? Because we can recap the whole weights, afterwards. But from your you spent a lot of time, Earl. You also spent a lot of time. Look at these high school results. So, what are some of the things that stood out the most? Maybe not you look at the brackets and go, okay, these are semifinalists. Who are some guys that you think really broke out, made some jumps, whether they move up your big board or they are now on college radars because of their day one
That Ohio
and a
kid
half
had a
performance?
day.
Who's that?
That Ohio kid that he would do fourth in his region or something. And Will, you tweeted about him. You know what I'm talking about?
He went
fourth,
0.
right?
This kid, his last name is Ayub, Ayoub. He went 0-2 in his state tournament, in his high school state tournament. Dublin Kaufman guy. Listen, Ricky Fowler is driving me bananas right now. He went 0-2 in his state tournament.
Ricky Fowler will never be on this show.
Ricky Fowler and I matched
Actually,
on
Ricky
Tinder
Fowler
in
was
Rio.
just on this show, Willie.
Fun fact.
He went 0-2 in his state tournament.
Rocket
He
Mortgage.
went to his freestyle state tournament. He lost to 2 guys I never heard of. He went to a regional and went 1-2. Then he came to Fargo. Then he beat 3 ranked guys. Figure that out.
Maybe that was the response you got from being in the RV. Maybe that guy.
Yeah. So he stood out to me. Who stood out to you, Earl?
I had a couple. Evan Bates from Indiana at 195.
Absolutely.
He beat, I think it was in the round of 32 or maybe even 64. He beat the returning champ
Yep.
from Georgia. not get into that. I guess Noah Pettigrew.
Yeah, it was Pettigrew, yeah.
But
he lost early. Yeah, that was early.
So I heard Pettigrew looked bad. I wasn't sure what to expect from this Indiana kid. Watched him on Mat 1. Kid looked dominant. Also, Lenny Pinto from Pennsylvania.
Great tournament.
I think
great
he was
tournament so far.
third in the state.
Hey, that's my guy.
He wrestled Tate Piccolo, the champion from last year. He just outhorsed him. He was a monster.
It was another Mat 1 match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Who did Rich Levette lose to today?
He lost?
I saw it. Well, I was looking at Full Arena. I swear it said, Conci at 32.
Who?
Maybe
I just saw it wrong. But I was looking, what? That's weird.
Love it.
Love it.
Idaho kid?
But, look.
Peyton Kraft beat Devin.
Peyton Kraft beat Devin Winston.
Alex Almeida. Rocking everybody. He's going to win this whole thing.
Now, look.
The voice you
here we
hear
go.
lightly in
Focus
the
on
background.
Jersey again. We
introduce who
established
our kind of guest is. Willie, introduce who our kind of guest.
This is Mr. Foka, Red Nose Wrestling. Chris Foka's father.
Hey, guys.
He's in the quarterfinals tomorrow against Dustin Plott.
Against the king, Dustin Plott. Who
Plott's
I think is
Plott's
Best
pretty
weight
good.
class in the tournament.
He's a great kid. He really is a humble individual.
Toughest weight class in the tournament.
Does the OW come from that weight class? Willie?
I would think so.
What about Tolmich from the cadets.
I'm cutting you off. All you're talking about is Jersey guys.
What do you want me to do?
Well, he's got a shirt that says New Jersey on it.
But they weren't the stories.
Wait. Let's show underneath the king.
They weren't the stories of the tournament.
Was that Thundercats?
That was good.
Easy there, Panthro.
That's funny.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, wow.
Two of us can
Snarf.
2 or 3.
Wow,
of
this
us
show
get
has
that.
gone off the rails since Jersey showed up.
Talking about.
I'll leave, guys.
All right, no. What exit, by the way? Parkway or Turnpike?
Either one, brother.
All right, so see, it makes a difference because it answers the pork roll
Parkway
question.
168.
So are you pork roll or
Turnpike,
are you a
Turnpike
pork roll or Taylor ham guy?
No, Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. Pork roll makes me want to throw up.
So you're from North
If I don't
Jersey.
do pork rolls, what do we want?
He's from North Jersey, right?
I thought it was the same thing. It's different names.
It is the same thing.
It's the
It's
same
just
thing.
People who live in trailers
I
say pork
call it Taylor ham, but but I thought my best
well, it's
friend in
because
college
she
is from
coaches
Jersey.
in New York. It's
No,
in northern.
no. My best friend in college is from Jersey, and she would make us But I thought it was the same thing though.
No, what
It's
it
the
is
same
is-
exact thing.
Listen, Taylor ham is
So-
a name brand. Pork roll is what you call it.
That's
Kleenex
right. It's like calling
versus
it a
tissue.
Coke. Can I have a Coke or can I have a cola?
No, like
Or
we're
a
from
pop.
PA. You guys call
Can
it
I get a
pop,
liter
right?
cola?
You guys call it a pop.
No, only the
No,
freaking
it's soda.
Pittsburgh
Shouldn't even-
Steelers fans call it
They
a
say
pop.
yins. What the
No.
hell's a yin?
That's
Yins
dumb.
Yins is dumb.
aside, dude. I live in Minnesota. This whole pop thing is not cool for me.
Me either.
It's
My
pop.
nephew
It's
goes
pop.
to school here. I got to train him right. That's crazy.
Now, how about Tolmich?
Soda.
Talk about that kid because he's rocking it, brother.
I'm still talking about pork roll and
He's
soda.
kicking ass.
I'll tell you who the stories are. The stories are
Mug night.
John Wiley. The stories are Antrell Taylor.
Yeah, Wiley. I like Wiley.
Zeke Seltzer.
Antrell Taylor.
Nebraska kid.
Antrell Taylor, I'm telling you, this kid, I watched him early because I saw his U15 results, and you guys are going to make fun of me for paying attention to U15 results.
No, because they have a world championship.
I know, but
Brought home like 16 golds across the 3
Hey, kid from Princeton, Minnesota. My wife's hometown's a world champ.
so
Second most famous wrestler from Princeton, Minnesota ever. Who's the first? Mr. President Bob Backlund. Matt Gilbert from Reslite in the house. Sponsor of the daily wrestling newsletter for Matt Talk Online. Sign up for free at matttalkonline.com/news.
Good stuff, dude.
All right, anyway, my Rocket Mortgage moment is over. Continue, Willie.
Well, I mean, if we're just talking about stories so far, I think, I'll tell you what, you're right. Talmadge is a story.
How much is the story?
Talmadge is a story. I think Antrell Taylor is a story. You know, he's a young guy. He's never been in a high school national tournament before. And I went to watch one of his early rounds because I had heard some. I haven't heard some good things. I saw good results from him, you know. And the kid looks special. The kid looks like he has instincts, and positions, and feel like
Reaction skills.
just like it's like I don't know. I think he's something special. But Earl, who you got?
I said Zeke Seltzer.
Yeah.
He already beat one champ from last year in Rivera from Wisconsin. He's got another in the finals in Jordan Williams. So, he's really going to earn his spot, up the rankings after this week.
Willie.
And Bates, man.
This circles back to the importance of Fargo. We talked about how much that this is a thing. The influence. He got Matt Gilbert from Resolite has just brought out a
Resolite beer pong?
floating beer pong
This is product
branded
placement.
with Herd and Horns.
This is game changing.
This is the best product placement of all time.
This is
Amazing.
why Matt Gilbert.
There's
I
a
mean, I know
Resolite
that.
wrestling mat beer pong.
Look,
Where were you 20 years
it
ago?
floats.
Stop
It floats.
How do I get that?
Pong floats. Seriously, this is Resolite's side company. This ought to tell you how many years Matt spent in college. That's Sunbury, PA's finest right there. Oh, it's for your pool. And you could also ice fish with it.
We need that in Minnesota.
Yeah, well, this is basically Minnesota.
When the weather in New Brighton is -17 and snowy.
That sucks. Okay, so my initial question was, before we get to the shout-out to Mary Salata, is the relevance of this tournament. We talked about how much the media, we make this a thing. This is the only tournament I really cover that isn't something I'm working. I work the NCAAs. I work Final X. I work the World Championships. I'm hired to be there. This is one that I've come to for 21 years in a row because it means something. This is the next generation. 77% of Division I All-Americans the last 20 years have wrestled
Say that
in this
again.
event.
How many percent?
77%.
Listen, if you're listening at home,
and it's not.
if you're a parent,
I'm not making
if you're
it up.
a wrestler, get your kid here or get yourself here.
77% of Division I All-Americans the last 20 years at least competed in this event. 68% placed. So, it's not necessarily the style. And you know what? I'll even give old Ohio Bob Perucci some credit here. He actually said, when he did the rankings, he goes, it's not necessarily about winning this thing. And Bob's gruff. He's rubbed people the wrong way over the years, but he's seen a lot of wrestling. He's ran a lot of tournaments. He goes, it's not about winning. It's about coaches come here and they see how hard these kids compete and go the old way, wrestling 8-9 matches and not placing. It's the grit.
It also
that
shows
helps people
commitment, right?
Yeah. Nobody wants to come here for fun and especially after you're a senior. Dude, I'm going to go party it up my summer before my college and boom. No. Yeah, this tournament can do so much for your career. And now, in terms of the big board, in terms of the high school rankings, in terms of the girls' high school rankings, which we have now via Flow, USA Wrestling, National Wrestling Hall of Fame, so much still centers around this tournament, even though it's not necessarily the end-all, be-all for a lot of people now, because we have Akron's importance and everything with, Flow Nationals playing a role in the Pan Am teams and things of that nature.
Whether or not there's many ranking services out there, whether or not it stands for the consensus thing,
there's less high school ranking services than there are college ranking services. Go figure.
Yeah. But there's my baby is
Buck Cherry.
My baby is who's number one. That's
it's
my
a great
thing.
event, by the way.
That's my thing. I love it. I take a lot of pride in it. I put a lot of work into it, and Fargo plays into it. Fargo almost is the final arbiter of who gets in and who's not in, and so it determines who competes for the number one spot. And let's say that after Fargo, I have a guy that's 1 and 2, and Earl has a guy that's 1 and 3. So
because Manassas Park is full of guys who are 1 and 3.
Damn right.
Point is that for me and for Earl and for Josh Lowe at Intermat, for everybody that does rankings, Fargo is, it's irreplaceable.
Yeah, everybody knows about it. This is what you train for. Some of the other little tournaments, it's fun. You go to, you wrestle, get some mat time. But, this is what everybody's training for all summer is Fargo. And, kind of going off of what Jason said, if you're talking to these college coaches, and, Julia can probably put in input too, We're not talking about Penn State or Iowa. If you're talking to these other college coaches, they're not necessarily looking for the All-Americans, the national champions. As you said, they're looking for how you compete, how you respond to adversity, how you're wrestling on the backside, more than winning a national title.
Also, and it's not just Division I. I mean, you look around, look at all these coaching staffs. I was talking to Levi Calhoun for a moment. Nobody knows who the heck this guy is. He's a head coach at Concordia University in Nebraska. He's on the Nebraska coaching staff, and there are kids that end up there. Saran Francisco ended up there randomly because of high school nationals. That type of situation happens here all the time. Like, these NAIA and Division II, Division III coaches are like, they're hoping guys they have eyes on don't win that next match, because then they know that the D1, the mid-majors and D1 are on them, and they keep winning another match, then the Big 12 and Big 10 are on them. So it's like, some of these coaches are being greedy, like, man, I hope this kid doesn't win so I can get him there. Julia, is it like that in the women's side too?
Oh, 100%. For me, I almost want a kid that takes like 7th or 8th, because those kids are still hungry. You see some of these girls that win a national title and they think like, I'm so awesome, I know everything, and they get into a college room and they start getting beat a little bit and they don't know how to handle it. They don't know what to do, and they've always been the best girl in their room. And a kid that takes 3rd is still hungry. They have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and they want to be better, and they know they have things to work on.
There's two things that people have to consider. Coaches are here all over the place. Mostly, a lot of times, coaching their home, like their state team, but they're looking around and recruiting at the same time. And these kids that lose a match, throw their headgear, run off, and then bounce out at the tournament after the second loss because they don't listen to their coaches after their loss. That's significant. That's pivotal to their career, because coaches want kids that are going to score points after their loss in the tournament. They want bonus points. They want points back, and they want to see how a kid handles a loss. That's number one. Number two, like you said, these kids that are, they're superstars. A lot of times they'll lose a match, and then they don't know how to handle it. And it's a good way for a college coach to take a look at a kid and say, this kid will not be good under pressure. And that's why a lot of kids who take 7th, 8th, 5th, 6th in the tournament like this end up being unbelievable in college and beyond. And it's very, very important to point out.
100%. That's what I was also going to... I was thinking to say similar things when you said what you said, because for me, and I think, well, more importantly, for a lot of coaches, I have to make evaluations when I do big boards and stuff. A lot of my big boards nowadays is personality. A lot of my big boards is intangibles, because
X factors, things that you can't put a win-loss on.
There's guys that are going to be a 4-time state champ in California that I won't touch with a 10-foot pole, because I know about his or her upstairs, right? And so I look for when a kid wins and loses. I saw a kid lose today. He had a 50-50 kind of leg lace, and the whistle went 2 on it, and the other 2 white paddled it, and they got it reviewed, and it didn't go, and he lost 6-5 in the freaking semis of cadets. He came down the stairs, and the father said to him, excellent effort. You keep that effort up, you come back strong for 3rd. His father said that to him.
That's rare, and that's important. That's very rare, and that's extremely important.
That's the kind of kid who grew up in an environment that's encouraging, right? Mm-hmm. That he has a good head on his shoulders. I like that stuff. Mr. Folk talked about kid throwing his headgear and having a tantrum and not wrestling back. I ain't about that. If I'm a college coach, I don't even need to be on the floor. I need to be, you know what I need to be? I need to be just enough to see how a kid reacts to situations.
Wrestlebacks are key. In recruiting, if I were a college recruiter, I would pay attention to the wrestlebacks, because how a kid handles a wrestleback, how a kid handles his coach. When a referee raises the other kid's hand, he walks over to shake the hands, comes back to his coach, and looks him in the eye, listens to the things he needs to work on for the next round, which could be in 20 minutes. We need to tweak a few things, and we need to capitalize things we did well. So a lot of kids aren't doing that nowadays. They want to throw their remote control at the TV because their guy died.
That shows character, right? I mean, character's everything.
Gumption.
100%.
Can you guys talk a little bit more about wrestling back? Because I never lost. So I don't know. I've never been in consolations. It's rare.
Hey, you know what? I only entered 1 tournament, and I was never in the consolations. I was only in the finals. Well, there was 2 entries in the weight class, and I took 2nd. But I was in the finals.
Nah, I'm just pulling your leg. You know, I agree with you 100%.
It's a good topic.
It's a good topic.
Yeah.
One other thing you got to think about is you guys talk about who's number one all the time.
Yeah.
And you talk about rankings and you talk about getting kids to compete and qualify for, and ups the rankings, but you're qualifying kids that the few kids that do freestyle and Greco and do well in double All-American and this and that, but then your who's number one is folk style. Personally, I don't care. However, I've heard a lot of people discuss that and say it doesn't make sense that they got kids that will lose straight up in a folk style match to somebody that's not even ranked near them because of their freestyle rankings, and then they get to be who's number one. Meanwhile, they're getting beat by these same kids at Super 32 for things like that. I say, are you guys ever going to go who's number one freestyle, or is that even a remote possibility?
Well, it's matched by like Karchler wrestled freestyle, right?
He's unbelievable, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the point now where I see what you're saying.
It's just a question.
I see what you're saying, but at the I mean, so
the thing is, Willie, you have the benefit of being who's number one being whatever you want it to be.
Yeah,
you don't have a rule structure to deal with.
That's a lot of freedom, but it is a tricky situation. I don't think I should be blamed for it. That's the course of the season. That's
come on, it's always your fault.
That's the nature of the sport, right?
It's always Flo's fault.
The nature of the sport is from fall through spring. This is a folk style country, and
maybe you have something to do with the change of that.
Spring and summer. Oh, listen, I shot from the rooftops. It was up to me. I'd go freestyle all day. College would be freestyle. It's asinine. It don't make sense. We were trying to do something at the world level, and yet the rest of the United States of America, mostly because
metric system.
I'll tell you why. Mostly because some college coaches, but mostly high school coaches, don't know their ass from first base about coaching freestyle, so they don't want to change to freestyle, and that's why high school is still freaking folk style.
Yeah, but your who's number one is off season, and a lot of these kids are being their club coaches.
I understand that, but the reality of the situation is we go free to folk. What am I supposed to have it? They're based. So you're saying I'm basing the ranking off of freestyle, which is only half true because
it's partially true.
It is partially true. It comes from, but it comes holistically. But we're going into folk style season. So who should be number one going into folk style season, right? Who should be? And I'm getting to the point now. Last year I said to Carson and Julian Ramirez, whatever you guys want to make it. I'll say this. Whatever you guys want it.
You guys want? Well, what if one kid strongly wants Greco, and the other kid wants folk style, and the Greco kid will 5 you all day long?
No, there ain't no Greco.
I'm just saying.
Because there ain't no Greco.
I'm just saying. What if? All right. So
we get a talent like an explosive guy like Kamal Bay coming through.
I'll tell you why there ain't
Kamal
no Greco.
Bay was also a great freestyle wrestler and a great folk style
That's
wrestler.
very true.
I'll tell you why there ain't no Greco. Because it doesn't translate.
I watched Mark Hall and Kamal Bay wrestle
Their best
a
match
barn
phenomenal.
burner folk style match at the Clash
It was
one
on
year.
like what is now Mat 21, like 3 years ago in Fargo. Phenomenal
match.
match.
By saying a great sport.
You made a big mistake.
What if one kid wants freestyle and the other kid wants folk style? What do we do?
Best 2 out of 3. Best 2 out of 3.
Rochambeau.
Rochambeau, you for it. If it goes to third, they have to wrestle Greco.
No, listen. I talk to my wrestling school about this all the time, joking around. Can we do this playfully, like in practice? Because you got to keep it fun. I'll do first period Greco on purpose, no touching the legs. Second period we'll do freestyle. Third period we'll do top and bottom. Winner of the freestyle takedown gets choice on the coin flip for top and bottom and third period.
But last point scored's got to be criteria because you can have one takedown apiece.
There won't be criteria with all three.
How do you determine a guy who wins the takedown battle if they each have one takedown?
First point scored.
So first point.
First point scored.
Versus last point.
No, first point.
First point, so you're going high school folk style versus freestyle, which is last point score.
What I'm explaining is real simple. Greco first period. Nothing carries into the second period. Second period we go neutral freestyle. Third period counts coin toss. You call the coin toss for choice, top bottom, on whoever gets the first takedown in the second period.
Well, we opened up a whole lot of stuff there. This is like that Aaron Brooks Kamal Bay thing that was going on.
I'm not saying do this.
I know. I like the situational training, right? You know, situational, right?
You're down by one.
Okay, you're about to get thrown for 5 here. How do you come back with throwing in the boots?
To answer your question, this is what I would do.
No text.
To answer the question,
Ooh, no
this is what I
text.
do. If they both agree they want to do freestyle, fine. If one says folk and one says free, it's folk because we're going into folk style season.
Okay.
I want the guys to be number one, and that's the thing I struggle with too because the guys lie to me, the kids lie to me. I want it to be number one. I want it to set number one for the regular season, right? Let's set number one for the regular season. Let's finally figure out who's number one. And they will say, I'll reach out to them. Hey, what weight you going this year? Because I want you at who's number one at what weight you're going. Oh, I'm going 160. All right, great. I'll have you at 160. Man, 5 minutes after they wrestle, who's number one? They're 70 for the whole season. Which is, I don't want that. I want it to mean something.
I get it. All I'm saying is, and by the way, I don't really care either way. But I have heard a ton.
No, he caught himself. He realized he was
A
live.
shipload of people.
Yes, a
ask the
shipload.
question, well, if they're going to base who's number one on folk style, why are freestyle points so important
See,
in the rankings?
let me interject, too, because I did rankings a long time ago, too. Thank God I don't do them anymore. But I looked at it as a basis, not necessarily a tiebreaker, but, again, a whole resume of things. Greco played a very tiny role, and let's be honest, because this is also pre-rule change, pre-3-period thing. So it was a totality of a resume is very important.
100%.
But again, back to what I was mentioning about Perusi and what college coaches say about it's that grit, that toughness. You know, if you win a tournament like this, no matter the style, you're a freaking badass.
Dude, look.
I mean, there are guys that can be nationally ranked that have never made a state final because they can perform at. They may not win everything. There's Nathaniel Barbie from Stonewall Jackson,
Yes,
Virginia.
Manassas, Virginia.
Never made a state final. Placed out here 4 times. Is he not worthy of being nationally ranked just because he couldn't make a state final?
Listen,
but he knew how to.
Coach, the kid who's underweight who can't make 106, he's like 97 pounds.
Well, but he's a freshman. He's got 4 years to work on it.
Who doesn't want to wrestle for that?
How about we talk about
get along with him?
When I didn't want you to talk about
Fargo, and those kids are around too, by the way.
I think those are outliers.
You to talk about New Jersey. When I didn't want you to talk about New Jersey, you talked about New Jersey. Now, when I want you to talk about New Jersey, you don't even bring up the obvious kid that's on your own team, Joey Zargo.
Joey Zargo, who, when you say my own team, you mean New Jersey. Joey Zargo is extremely gifted. I mean, my team is Red Nose. I coach Team New Jersey, but my team is Red Nose.
What high school does your son wrestle for?
Christopher wrestled for Bergen Catholic. I am a Red Nose wrestling coach. I'm not a Bergen Catholic guy. Christopher is.
What school does Joey Zargo go to?
Christopher went and graduated from Joey Zargo's school. Now,
Willie, I give you credit for pressing the issue to get the issue you wanted.
He's trying to force an issue. I can't do that.
I don't think it's the issue.
They're a great school, and
I think he's just messing with you.
Joey Zargo. Let's speak about him since you mentioned Joey Zargo.
Yeah, let's speak about him because you're saying
Willie's officially taking over short time. By the way,
you're saying that
which is no longer short.
You know, certain rankings are
almost
built
90
on certain
minutes
things.
into a 30-minute show.
Zargo, let's take a guy like Joey Zargo. I mean, Earl. Now let's open it up. How do you handle that, Jason Bryant? How would you handle that? Joey Zargo didn't place at the state tournament.
You brought it up. I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Hold on.
Let's
talk about a ranking
I want to hear this
situation.
because I've got experience
We're
here.
talking about a ranking situation. Joey Zargo doesn't place at the state tournament. He goes to Flow Nationals. He wins it.
Okay.
He goes to Akron. He beats many ranked guys and takes 4th.
Okay.
He's in Junior Fargo quarterfinals tomorrow morning. How do you handle that?
And he's coaching his little brother, who's going to be a stud too.
Okay, so
in a minute.
it starts. See, there's a tiered system, and I always looked at it, and I'm sure Willie, you might have a similar type of thing. But when I looked at it in high school rankings, you always start at the big national events: the Beast, Fargo, Reno, Ironman, things like that. You look at that to get your radar. Then you go to the highest tier high school states. New Jersey being one of those, especially since it's a one-class state. You look at it, okay, you look at those factors, and you're like, well, then you backtrack. You're like, okay, who is this? Nathaniel Barbie is a good example in Virginia, again, who'd never made a state final in a relatively average state. So you look at, okay, what happened? He beat all these guys in freestyle. Okay, now let's go back. Okay, how good were the guys he lost to at the New Jersey State Tournament? How did they do? What are their resumes? I'm going to get on a tangent here for a second, but we brought up Les Gutchis yesterday while talking at the table. He did not place his freshman year at the NCAA tournament.
05-1-1?
He lost 2 overtime matches to All-Americans. Okay, so is it the type of draw there that not placing doesn't tell the whole story in New Jersey or California or Indiana. What was it? Who was it? Mitch Sliga didn't place his freshman year or something, like because he lost to Pigtail, Indiana?
Yeah.
So some states, if you don't place at state, that's not a disqualifier.
Yeah.
It might, but what it does is it does not
lost.
get you a 1 or 2.
That's a good foundation,
But again,
Jason.
like some states have just so much depth.
If I lose to Jordan Burroughs and James Green,
I don't think you can be top 10 if you don't place in your state.
If I lose to Jordan Burroughs and James Green in my first 2 matches and I didn't place at the state tournament,
That's kind of the point I
then
make.
people are going to say, that doesn't say too much because they're all world. If I lose to Freak and Jason Bryant and Earl Smith,
He placed at states. I didn't.
I'm saying, if I lose to Skip Bayless,
he started. I didn't.
If I lose to Skip Bayless and J.D. Raider, it's like,
Dan Lobdell.
what the hell were you doing?
Hey, one of those two guys is on a college wrestling team.
No. But Mr. Fugger, I'm not talking about if Joey Zarco is good or bad. What I'm talking about is, how do you handle that from a rankings perspective? And
What
that
year is he,
the
first of all?
difficulty. That is the difficulty between free and folk.
It really is.
I think he's going to be a senior.
That's a
this
very
year.
good analogy because you did mention a kid who could have done bigger things in folk style. His neutral is unreal. But I'll tell you, no, I'm talking about Joey Zargo. Joey Zargo's neutral. James Green's unbelievable. But Joey Zargo's neutral is unreal. And you know what the crazy thing is? He's extremely creative in neutral. He's not as into, obviously, like you guys. I watched a lot with you guys when Yanni was in high school. He favored heavily freestyle over folk style. And I would say, I'm not comparing Yanni to Zargo, but two things are very, very similar. One, they both, without a doubt, seem to love neutral freestyle and all the turns and the tips and this and that way more than folk style. Secondly, top and bottom with a timed period, no start back up on neutral. That plays a major role in a 6-minute match, right? So Joey Zargo embraces freestyle much better because his neutral is great, his gas tank is great, he's very creative, and the thing about the both of them that you'll find similarities in, they both are in love with this sport. They would do it if they were the last two people on earth.
That's what I said. Yeah, I wrote a lot of articles about Joey Zargo. Not wrote articles about Joey Zargo. Included Joey Zargo tidbits in the lead up to Fargo. And that's one of the things I said. The kid smiles before he goes out on the mat.
Yeah, you're saying he looks like he has the most fun out there.
He's the
Anybody?
worker with the biggest smile I've seen in a long time, and it's very rejuvenating. I have goosebumps right now thinking about it. He is such a good kid. He's a coach, a college coach's dream. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I would take him in a second, and I would put full faith in that kid to do whatever he wants to do because that kid will outwork everybody in the room.
Joey Zargo getting a lot of airtime here. I think we're over 90 minutes on the
right,
show. We were only going to do 30 minutes for. Willie, I'll give you the calm here. We'll wrap. By the way, Coach Foca, thank you for all the insight. This has been a very. I mean, we always have the mics kind of open. Who was going to come by? This is actually a great little dialogue. Appreciate your input here. I know you and Willie know each other more than we do, but it's good insight, Earl. What do you think?
Yeah, I had fun.
So, Willie, what do you got left for us?
I think, let's wrap it up. We did a good. I think we talked about the women's.
We're at 93 minutes, by the way.
We talked about a lot
We
of
were
things.
thinking about going 30 and see where it
I'm
went.
so sorry. It's my fault.
No, it's all Willie's
we
fault.
Talked about, we talked
greatest
about the
mind in
women's.
wrestling's
we had,
fault.
We had really. I thought we had a really good dialogue about the women and the state of the women and
Best part of the show by far.
Yeah, that was best part of the show. We sprinkled in a little cadet men's free and
That's number 4. 16U.
recruiting.
Correction.
Yeah,
Don't climb over the. How many times have you climbed over the railing this week?
none.
Yeah.
I have
You
gout.
know that cattle guard is really
2 days
pissing
in.
you off every
None, I
time you
have
have to walk.
Did you get this punched?
No.
Did you get it? What's punch mean?
Oh, yeah, 11 years. I have a lot of punches.
What's
That's
the
okay.
punch mean?
No, if you screw up,
If you screw up, you get a punch.
walk across the mats. You get your card punch. You get a punch.
Listen,
twice,
listen.
you're out.
Joe Trottier punched my card 3 times my junior year of high school.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 times.
That's why we have
This
crazy
week,
group.
Team New York was working out in his gym because of that, because we became friends all those years
Yeah,
ago.
I know.
Were you here the year New Jersey got popped for recycling old coaches' passes? You only get a certain amount
Don't
per
include me
style.
in that, because
No,
I know nothing
not you.
about
No, but you are You're wearing a guilty shirt.
by association. I get you.
Yeah. Not counting the year they went as NFJ.
might be
I'm
fine.
sure you know about that
I've
too.
never heard of it.
So listen,
the
what are
old
we gonna
passes.
do?
They had
Let's-
all the passes. But anyway, go ahead.
Let's decide what we're going to do.
So
We're-
no show Monday night because they have a Coach's Social here. It's going to be jam. By the way, Herd and Horns, let's give them some credit here. HerdandHorns.com, they have been our host here. They hosted the Media Social last year. Steve Saxon, Todd Fuller, both three-time national champions at North Dakota State, co-owners of this bar. Nick, he's hooked us up. We're going to be able to do shows here all week when we want. They've got. I mean, there's Resolite made them a freaking floating beer pong table. They've got USA Wrestling mugs and shirts. It's not mug night. It's mug week. Herd and Horns. If you are in earshot, you're coming for Greco, or you're in the dorm listening to this. You're in the Days Inn across the street. You're in the Applebee's, or you're listening to. You're following Willie on Twitter. You're gonna be able to go and get something wrestling related here at Herd and Horns. It's been
Coach's
a great
Social
spot
tomorrow
for us.
night's here.
Coach's Social Monday night, official social Tuesday night, all here or Wednesday. Thursday, Willie and I are going to be back to defend our team title. I don't even remember our team name, but it'll be wrestling themed again. So if you are here and you ever come to Fargo, Herd and Horns, 12th Avenue South. No, 12th Avenue North on the south end of campus, 1212. This is owned by wrestlers. It's a wrestling bar, and they have flow on all day. So big plus here. Willie, final thoughts?
No, awesome guys here at Herd and Horns. Awesome show. Thanks to Mr. Foka. Mr. Foka from Red Nose Wrestling. You know, last year I think my final 2 days actually were with you guys. Me and Jason did trivia here, and then the next night or the next day
We did sweep trivia. Spade did help. You answered one freaking question.
That's not true.
You answered the Andre the Giant question.
I answered a lot of questions.
Ironic.
After me and Spade answered them.
Many questions.
No.
Willie's smarter than he's smarter than, I can't say he's smarter than he looks because that's, Willie kind of knows
Why, do I
general
look smart?
knowledge. He's a good trivia team partner.
I look dumb, so
I will say
being smarter than
Spade
that would probably be-
is actually a really good trivia partner to have.
He full
throws
of
some-
useless knowledge.
Exactly. That's why he's like your phone a friend on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
So these guys are great. Herd and Horns, I'll be here Wednesday. We should do a show.
Yeah.
Wednesday we should do a recap show here. Come out, hang out with us a little bit. Thursday we'll do something here too for trivia night.
We may
And
not
last
record
year-
it. That may be an off-the-record show.
And last year, the last day of Fargo last year, me and Mr. Foka and the twins,
Johnny and Joey,
and
You're good, dude.
we played pool for about 3 hours, didn't we?
Sounds like an episode of Jersey Shore.
It was the episode of the turf.
Hey, well, Julia did double leg somebody at the turf last night.
Four confirmed fall. You said it
Four
yourself.
confirmed to a fall. The best part of that story was, hey, JB, what's the bartender's name? Kevin. Hey, Kevin. It was like, yeah.
Kevin said, I said, Kevin, can I say,
As long as no F-bombs, go ahead.
I said, Kevin, can I beat this dude's ass in your bar? And he said, as long as you don't get blood on my carpet, you can do what you want. I said, bet.
She promptly lifted, doubled, and by the way, we got to give real quick before we close up shop. We got to give Mike Kwame a shout out. He was one of our Rio partners in crime the night. Julia, I didn't have luggage. Me, Julia, Mike Kwame, Elena's brother, a couple. We photobombed Ryan Seacrest
Becca was there,
nonstop
too.
that night at the Olympics. Becca was there, yeah, and we had the best steak sandwiches ever. So there, Julia. We've given Willie his final shot. Julia, your final words from episode 1 of the first ever live Matt Talk live podcast.
Productive, man. I've already been here for like 8 days in Fargo.
Julia
so,
texted me like
8 days ago.
Julia texted me in
You
June.
both did.
And
You both texted me. When do you get
in
here?
June is like, when do you get here?
It's like right at NC8A's. You in Fargo yet? All right, Earl.
Yeah.
Earl is the Dan Carlin of wrestling because of his sudden history style and a very
Bedtime brackets.
brackets. So Earl, I'm going to close up shop with you and your thoughts of anything we didn't touch on, things we were going to touch on later in the week here at Herd and Horns. Your second ever trip to Fargo. You're 2 days in. What time is it? Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, we were just coming over here saying we lost track of
Already.
days and hours.
You get
and-
stuck in a vortex. This
Yeah.
place is a vortex. And that's,
Yeah, I think it's Sunday. So, I mean,
We were talking, we don't know our fantasy baseball league. There might be there's a hurricane somewhere in Louisiana. I think California broke off into the Pacific at this point. I am so far behind on Big Brother. I mean, it's
That's
just.
the real tragedy.
What do you think of the season, by the way?
It's better than some, not as good as others.
Willie, are you a Big Brother guy?
What is Big Brother?
Erin Goldson's a Big Brother fan.
She's a Star Trek fan too.
Are you the one? Me and Erin were roommates at the OTC, and all we would do was watch trashy reality TV
Erin
shows.
Golson?
Yeah, me and Erin lived together.
You guys are
and-
all crazy. I'm sorry. You guys are all crazy if you don't watch Dark.
Oh,
Haven't
Dark's
watched it
amazing.
yet. Have you
It's
watched
amazing.
Chernobyl yet?
I usually
Chernobyl's amazing.
it's
hate
so
foreign language
depressing.
shows. Dark's incredible.
It's so depressing.
Shoot, one episode, I was hooked. I watched it on the plane to Argentina for Pan Am.
Which one? Dark?
Dark.
Haven't seen
awesome.
it yet. Yeah, okay.
It's
Is it
a-
on
it's
HBO
a-
or Netflix?
It's a German show. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
But
By the way,
it's subtitled. It's awesome.
I want JD in here real quick because last night JD Raiders, the USA Wrestling intern, he's been working outside of Gary's door,
I've been there.
and
We bonded
people know
over
that.
it. Yeah.
And last night I took JD to the turf for the first time, and he had to wake up butt crack early. He had to make sure he didn't wake up his coworker who was up to watch to tweet the Yasardogu. So we initiated the rookie last night. So JD, pop in, say, give your final thoughts on the show. You've sat here watching for an hour and not said a freaking word about.
I haven't been here that long. I came in.
The official beer of Iowa is Busch Light. By
Busch
the way,
Light, yeah.
By the way, you know how many
Couple
times
deep.
Brett Haas's name got mentioned today?
How many?
Every time. Every time there's a bad draw, Brett Haas's name came up.
Yeah, he's got the worst draw of all time.
Kyle Snyder, Jaden Cox, first 2 rounds. End of
And
story.
line bracket.
Vertical pairing.
Or vertical pairing.
Line bracket doesn't happen because nobody's
Yeah.
beaten either of those guys in round 1.
No.
JD, thoughts so far as a media member? You wrestled here a couple times, but close this out.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I like being front row, watching everything.
You actually try to watch, but it really doesn't happen here.
No, not much.
Hey,
No, but I'm
JD,
excited. We're just starting.
Yeah, Sunday. Willie, what do you got for him? What do you got for the rookie?
Well, I just wanted to know if the Rook. How many times a day do you have to ask Gary Abbott to maybe tie his shoes?
I don't even ask him why. It's just he's never. They're never tight. He's never fallen.
Bullshit.
Let him
He's
live his
never
life.
fallen.
Let Gary live.
Gary took a header in Turkey. I think it might have to do with his shoes. We told that story. I live with Gary. He's my boss for years. I've known him for 20 years. He's definitely an interesting guy to learn from.
He comment on his parents and he'll tell you, it doesn't matter. You know how many Olympics I've worked. I got no comeback. He doesn't care if his shirt's.
By the way,
tucked in
Willie,
or-
JD is Nebraska Carney. That's Division II.
we talked
We're about to
last
drop the
we're
gloves
closing
right
out
here.
with that. We're closing out with
The
that.
gloves are going to get dropped right here.
Oh, so anyway, for
see that
Earl
pickle?
Smith of theopenmat.com,
I'll eat
JD
that
Raider.
pickle.
Look at this, JD
I'll buy
Raider
you a
USA.
bucket of pickles.
We've got everybody here. JD from USA Wrestling, Willie from Flow, Julia from Anybody Who Will Publisher, and myself from Matt Talk Online. You want to talk overtime? I was thinking maybe 30 minutes. We'll figure out where we go. Hour and 42 minutes later, I'd say we had a successful first run here live in Fargo. Willie?
I just think it was just pure fun.
Pure
So
fun.
much fun.
No format. For those, Clay Sour Tig, who wants to sit there and, you're on Twitter. We'll talk later. It's soda and it's pork roll. End of show.
5-Hour Tea with caffeine from green tea leaves. It's delicious, energizing, and comes in 3 amazing flavors. With 0 sugar and 4 calories, it fits your life. With its compact size and portability, it goes where you go. To the campsite, the hiking trail, the beach, without weighing you down. 5-Hour Tea. Caffeine from green tea leaves. Release your natural side. From the makers of 5-Hour Energy. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com. Try 5-Hour Tea today. Look for 5-Hour Tea at your local Circle K store. 5-Hour Tea with caffeine from green tea leaves. It's delicious, energizing, and comes in 3 amazing flavors. With 0 sugar and 4 calories, it fits your life. With its compact size and portability, it goes where you go. To the campsite, the hiking trail, the beach, without weighing you down. 5-Hour Tea. Caffeine from green tea leaves. Release your natural side. From the makers of 5-Hour Energy. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com. Try 5-Hour Tea today. Look for 5-Hour Tea at your local Circle K store.